Oh,
I'm the director of the Montgomery County Veteran Service Organization. It is indeed my honor and privilege today, on this Memorial Day morning, to welcome you. Being a veteran myself of Vietnam and the Persian Gulf, I'm no stranger to sacrifice. And this is not about us today. It's about those who went before us. We're gathered here this morning to remember and memorialize those brave men and women who gave their last full measure of devotion to a grateful nation. It is an honor that they went willingly into harm's way to protect and preserve our way of life against an invisible enemy and our tyranny. Let us never forget the price that was paid for our freedom, and let us eternalize these words, that freedom isn't free, and let us never forget the fallen. At this time, I would like to introduce to you Ms. Stacy Hopwood, who's going to be our Master of Ceremony and my deputy of the Clarksville-Montgomery County Veteran Service Office.
Thank you, Ms. Rivers. I'm honored to serve as the Master of Ceremonies here today. I am very pleased to see so many members of our community here to pay tribute to our fallen today. Our colors will be posted by the 101st Airborne Division Honor Guard from Fort Campbell. Our national anthem will be performed by the 101st Airborne Division Band, followed by the invocation, which will be given by the Reverend Johnny Conway of the Greater St. James Baptist Church. At this time, please rise for the posting of our nation's colors and remain standing for the national anthem and the invocation.
Detail, attention, forward, march. Detail, halt. Right, face.
Forward, move. March time. March. On guard. Halt. Right. Face. Present. On. Order. On.
Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, today we are here to honor those that have served our country and given their lives so that we may stand here in freedom. We need to be reminded of our gift of freedom constantly and of those who gave all to make sure future generations continue to know life in a free, democratic society. We must carry the love, honor, and duty forward to the future generations to come. Our children must know who they were, what they did, and why they did it. Anything less would be a disservice to their sacrifice and their memories. We ask your blessing upon this assembly as we remember those who gave and those who gave all. Amen.
Please be seated. At this time, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge our local and state dignitaries who are here to share in this remembrance ceremony with us today. We have Montgomery County Mayor Carolyn Bowers, Clarksville Mayor Kim McMillan, State Senator Tim Barnes, State Representative Joe Pitts, Tennessee Department of Veterans Affairs Assistant Commissioner Mark Brees, our guest speaker, Colonel William Gaylor and his wife Michelle, Lieutenant Colonel William Ryan, Montgomery County Director of Administration Phil Harpel, County Commissioner John Guinness, County Commissioner Joe Creek, County Commissioner Tommy Vallejos, City Councilwoman Deanna McLaughlin, City Councilman James Lewis, City Councilman Gino Grubbs, City Councilman Mark Harris, City Councilwoman Kay Jones, Colonel Ted Crozier, Brigadier General Wendell Gilbert, Wes and Dar Westerman, John Stevenson, Sidney Brown, Jack Nagrod, and Mr. Gary Azell. Please accept my apologies if I missed anyone that slipped in on me. As I look out over this beautiful park today, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Mark Tarter and Cutting Crew Lawn and Landscaping for their hard work and their dedication in transforming our Memorial Park into what you see today. Now I'd like to welcome Montgomery County Mayor Carolyn Bowers.
Thank you, Stacy. Today it's an honor to be here. We honor and remember our American heroes today, and I'm very proud to be representing Montgomery County citizens as I say this. Memorial Day has many meanings to different people. For some, it's the unofficial start of summer, a long weekend with family and friends enjoying a wonderful picnic, or time for that first summer weekend getaway. But for many others, it holds a special, deeper meaning, a time for reflection and remembrance. We honor our soldiers for their sacrifice, for those who risked their lives, and for those who gave their lives. We honor those serving in the armed services today. As Americans, we would be living a very different life if it weren't for those who have fought so diligently to preserve our freedoms that we so often take for granted. May we be inspired to follow their leadership and continue their legacy of patriotic service. To say that we appreciate the service of those who have fought and continue to fight for our freedom seems so small, given the jobs that they routinely perform and the privileges that it allows each and every one of us to enjoy every day. These men and women are true heroes, and our gratitude is immeasurable. We salute the Fort Campbell soldiers who have given their lives in the line of duty, and for those Montgomery County citizens who are still in Iraq and Afghanistan giving their all every day, so that we can go about our daily lives without fear. For this, we are truly grateful. We are excited to have many of our Fort Campbell soldiers back home this year, and we're pleased that they get to spend this day with their families. President Lincoln said, "Any nation that doesn't honor its heroes will not long endure." So today, we thank each and every one of the armed services members that we encounter, so that we can spend our life in a country where we can be free. In my eyes, there's no more honorable title than American soldier. This title brings with it a sense of pride like no other. So to all American soldiers, both past and present, I say thank you. I sincerely admire all the brave men and women who have given their lives for our country, and the veterans who fought along beside them, the families who support them, and those who continue to fight today. May God bless and keep every one of you safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Bowers. Now, if you would please welcome Clarksville Mayor Kim McMillan.
Thank you, Stacy, and it is truly an honor and a privilege to stand up here today. And I do so humbly and thankfully for what we are here to do today, and that's to honor those who have not only paid the ultimate sacrifice, but those who have gone to serve our country. As your mayor, I am telling you that everyone in the city of Clarksville and all across our county recognizes the high price that has been paid by many of those who have gone before us to serve this country, this county, this community. And we are immeasurably thankful. And I would like to say on behalf of the city of Clarksville, on behalf of the city council, on behalf of all those who work for the city of Clarksville, that we give our humble thanks to those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice and the families, friends, and relatives of those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice and who have gone and served our country so admirably. Let me tell you that on behalf of the city of Clarksville and all of those who are part of the city of Clarksville, they may be gone, but I can promise you they will never be forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor McMillan. Now I have the honor of introducing our keynote speaker, Colonel William K. Gaylor, Commander of the 101st Combat Aviation Brigade, Fort Campbell. Colonel Gaylor has a long list of personal and military achievements, many of which you can find detailed in your programs. The highlights of his career include being a distinguished military graduate of North Georgia College in Dahlonega, Georgia, where he earned a Bachelor of Business Administration and was commissioned as an aviation officer. He served at Fort Hood, Texas as Scout Platoon Leader and Liaison Officer, and served in Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm before being assigned to Fort Campbell. He commanded an aviation brigade in Hanau, Germany, and later deployed an aviation regiment as part of Operation Joint Endeavor in Bosnia. After returning from Europe, Colonel Gaylor served as aide-de-camp to the Commanding General of the U.S. Army Aviation Center, Fort Rucker, Alabama. He attended the Command and General Staff College before returning to Fort Campbell, where he commanded aviation deployments in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom. Colonel Gaylor has an extensive list of military education credentials to include the National War College in Washington, D.C. His awards and decorations include the Bronze Star Medal and Army Air Medal, among others, and he is a Master Army Aviator. Colonel Gaylor is married to the former Michelle Nash of Atlanta, and they have 3 daughters, Katie, Maggie, and Samantha. Please welcome Colonel William K. Gaylor.
Stacy, thank you very much. Sorry you all had to endure that bio. Makes you feel a little older as you start hearing back to your lieutenant days. I want to say just a couple of things. First off, the 2 messages I want hopefully to relate to you today is the incredible service and sacrifices that our great citizens make. And then secondly, to recognize the contributions of great communities like ours. I want to thank you all for hosting this Memorial Day ceremony. It is certainly a touch of class, and it is wonderful support you provide continually to all of our veterans, which, frankly, there is no responsibility of our government that is greater. To any Gold Star family members here today, thank you very much for your attendance and your presence. Your sacrifice has been enormous, and we owe you a great debt of gratitude. To all the veterans that have joined us here today, soldiers that came out, they're here to honor their fellow fallen soldiers. You represent every conflict this nation has fought from World War II to our current wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. Thank you for your service to our great nation. Your presence makes this event special as well. To all the many distinguished visitors, thank you for your attendance, and thank you for your leadership and your steadfast support of our soldiers and their families. For the past 10 years now, in our most recent conflict, you've watched our soldiers go off to war, and you have cared for and stood with their families left behind. And Fort Campbell's relationship with this great community has never been stronger. I want to thank you for being the full partner in the lives of our soldiers who do so much and are willing to give it all for their country. And to all the great citizens of Clarksville and the other communities that have joined us, thank you for being here to honor those that served and made that ultimate sacrifice. I'm honored to be here with you on behalf of Major General John Campbell, the Commanding General of the 101st Airborne Division, Air Assault, and Fort Campbell's installation, and representing all of the great soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines in the local area that have any kind of affiliation with Fort Campbell. As you know, the majority of our division has just recently returned from Afghanistan after their 4th combat deployment since 2001. And as we gather here today, though, there are still several brigades worth of our soldiers forward deployed into harm's way. I would ask that you continue to keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Here today in Clarksville, like other communities all across our great country, our citizens pause to remember American servicemen and women, the most noble among us, who have lost their lives while serving our great nation in defense of its freedom. Winston Churchill once noted in World War II, after watching our Allied forces, that seldom in the course of human events have so many people owed so much to so few. There have been more than 1 million service members who have died since 1775, and our colonial warriors took up arms to fight for our independence. And every soldier who has died was a loved one, cherished by family and by friends, and each was a loss not only to their community, but to our great nation. And as the citizens in these superb communities that surround and support Fort Campbell and its soldiers and families, you know many of these losses personally, and you have experienced and witnessed firsthand the cost of war and the devastation to families with each lost hero in combat. They are certainly American heroes. Many of them died protecting one another, but they served so that we can keep the things that we consider precious: our God, our country, and our family. By remaining true to these principles, we honor their sacrifice. With that unofficial beginning of summer today, we must never lose focus of what Memorial Day really means. It's not about beaches, it's not about picnics, it's not about car races, and it's not about ball games. It's a day to remember. And whether you attend a Memorial Day Remembrance event at the Arlington National Cemetery, you watch a hometown parade, and you place a yellow ribbon on a mailbox, or if you take a son or a daughter to a local veteran cemetery just to place a flag at the headstone of a fallen service member, each of us will remember and reflect in our own ways. Today to remember great Americans like Specialist Joseph LaPointe, the Congressional Medal of Honor winner from our headquarters troop, 2nd Squadron, 17th Cavalry Regiment out of the 101st. And in 1969, in Vietnam, Specialist LaPointe was knocked to the ground by enemy fire on 2 separate occasions as he crawled in direct view of an enemy bunker to provide medical aid to 2 of his fellow soldiers. He continually shielded the wounded with his own body while under fire and attempting to continue to give medical aid. He was eventually mortally wounded by an enemy grenade from that same position. And great heroes like Dick Winters and our 506 Easy Company, Parachute Infantry Regiment out of World War II, along with so many other great Americans that fought so valiantly in that war. A unit that lost 150% of its assigned company. One of the soldiers that served in Easy Company, David Webster, once wrote that among his colleagues, the Purple Heart was not a decoration, but a badge of office. And now you look at conflicts today. We send soldiers like Army Sergeant First Class Lance Vogel, a 29-year-old man from Savannah, Georgia, who gave his life for his country in October of 2010 in southern Afghanistan. He was serving his 8th tour in Afghanistan after serving 4 tours in Iraq as a member of our Special Operations Forces. That is 12 combat tours in Afghanistan and Iraq since 2001. This husband and father gave to his country until he simply had nothing left to give. It makes you wonder, where do we get these great Americans? Brave souls across all generations who risk their lives willingly, who volunteer and say, "Send me," and who give their life in defense of this nation. And if you ask these heroes before they died how they would like to be honored, most would simply say, "Take care of my family." General Hal Moore referenced in his book, We Were Soldiers Once and Young, that the last words of many soldiers on the battlefield is to tell my wife that I love her and my kids that I love them. That is why Abraham Lincoln, a second Abraham Lincoln quote from his second inaugural address, said, "The government should strive on to finish the work that we are in, to bind up our nation's wounds, and to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan." We must never forget what the heroes have done for us and what their loved ones have sacrificed for us. And we have no greater responsibility than to ensure those left behind are cared for with all that we can muster as a community and as a nation. I'd like to thank you all again for coming out today to remember the great individuals who sacrificed. And I would like to tell you how special it is for our beloved division, the 101st, and all of the soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines in our communities, so rich in history and sacrifice, to be blessed with fine communities who share in our sorrow at the loss of our tremendous soldiers. You are truly special, and you make Fort Campbell home to all of us privileged enough to serve here. May God bless our fallen. May God especially bless their families. And may God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Gaylor. That was very appropriate and very much appreciated. For a special treat, the 101st Band is going to entertain us with a short musical selection. At this time, the Montgomery Central High School JROTC will present the POW MIA Missing Man Table and Honors Ceremony.
Detail, halt. Center, face. Post the cap.
Army.
Navy.
Marine Corps.
Air Force. Coast Guard. Center, face. Forward, march.
I'd like to take a moment and explain the significance of the Missing Man Table. It is set for 6. The empty places represent the Americans still missing from each of our services: Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, and Coast Guard. This honors ceremony symbolizes that they are still with us here in spirit. The table is round to show our everlasting concern for our missing service members. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their motives when answering the call to duty. The single red rose, displayed in a vase, reminds us of the life of each of the missing and their loved ones and friends who keep the faith. The vase is tied with a red ribbon, symbol of our continued determination to account for our missing. A slice of lemon on the bread plate is to remind us of the bitter fate of those captured and missing in a foreign land. A pinch of salt symbolizes the tears endured by those missing and by their families who still seek answers. The Bible represents the strength gained through faith to sustain those lost from our country, which was founded as one nation under God. The glass is inverted to symbolize their inability to share in our toast. The chairs are all empty because they are still missing. Please have a moment of silence to honor our missing service members. Thank you. Now, to honor those who have given their last full measure of devotion, we will have a memorial wreath presentation. If the wreath bearers have not already done so, please assume your position with your unit's wreaths. Mayor Bowers, Mayor McMillan, and Colonel Gaylor will now place our wreath at the War Memorial. Now we will have a wreath-laying presentation by many of our local veteran service organizations who are honoring their fallen comrades. First, we have Women Veterans of America, Chapter 20. Military Order of the Purple Heart, the Screaming Eagle, Chapter 457, and Auxiliary. The Disabled American Veterans, Hardy Shelby, Chapter 45. Marine Corps League, James N. McCutcheon, Detachment 603. Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 396. Montgomery Central High School, JROTC. Gold Star Wives, Tuckasee Chapter. The Triple Nickel, the Alistair Garner Chapter. The Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 4895. And Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 11160. I'd like to thank each of these organizations for coming out and participating in this memorial today. Our benediction will be given by the Reverend Johnny Conway, and it will be followed by the playing of taps by a member of the 101st Airborne Division Band. Please rise for the benediction and remain standing for the playing of taps.
Once again, please bow our heads. Our Heavenly Father, today is for remembering. We stand in honor of those who gave all, who walk in their path of duty, remember the cost, and hold in our hearts the cost of freedom. May there come a day when it is no longer necessary for this sacrifice. Until then, God bless every American. Amen.
You may be seated. As we close today, on this Memorial Day, we want to express our deepest appreciation to the men and women in uniform who have given their last full measure of devotion so that we might live in freedom. We cherish their memory, and we pray for the peace for which they have laid down their lives. We mourn with the families and friends of those we have lost, and we hope they find comfort in knowing that their loved ones died with honor. We ask for God's grace to protect those fighting in distant lands, and we renew our promise to always support our troops, their families, and all our veterans. I would ask that you remember this afternoon at 3 o'clock there is a national moment of remembrance. I ask that everyone stop whatever you're doing and just take a few moments to reflect and to never forget. On behalf of Montgomery County Mayor Carolyn Bowers and Jerry Rivers, the director of the Montgomery County Veteran Service Organization, I want to express our gratitude for your attendance here today. That concludes our ceremony. Thank you for coming.